It's What's Inside was crazy. I had so much fun watching it, but honestly, I can't help but be disappointed by that ending. There are 8, technically 9 characters that we follow in this film. Cyrus and Shelby are the first characters that we see interacting with each other. They are in a 9-year-long relationship and it is struggling. They aren't having sex, and Cyrus has a porn addiction, though not exactly. He's actually masturbating to a video of another one of their friends who's also an influencer, Nikki. When he's about to finish, he switches it over to a porn video, almost as if he's trying to superimpose her into that. Like I said, Nikki is an influencer with millions of followers. She does a lot of activism and charity, and throughout the movie, a lot of characters criticize her for this being faux activism or selfish charity. As we come to learn, even more than the masturbating scene can already tell us, Cyrus originally asked out Nikki, and he has never been able to let go of that crush on her in his relationship with Shelby. In his mind, he feels that he's settled. Now, the other characters are as follows. Ruben, whom is getting married but is still in love with his ex, Maya. Maya, a sort of hippie, for a lack of a better term. She's really into spirituality and that realm of things. Brooke, an artist who is insecure about being single. Forbes, an old friend of the group who got kind of outcasted after a big fight they all had. He went on to be a Silicon Valley tech bro. Dennis, a trust fund baby asshole who is kind of mean to his friends and also had a predatory relationship with Forbes' sister when she was a minor. And Forbes' sister, Beatrice, who we'll get more into her later. Once we are established with all the characters, the plot gets into full swing. Forbes arrives late to the party when people weren't sure that he was going to show up, and he has this machine. The machine can switch people into each other's bodies, and they decide to play a guessing game with it. Now, I will say, for this chunk of the movie, for most of the movie, really, I was fully engaged. This movie is a blast. You never know what's going to happen next, and it's a really refreshing, interesting take on the body swapping genre. Honestly, I don't really have any criticisms of the first 80% of the movie. It's really good. My problems lie solely with that ending. Now, this movie makes a lot of moral statements. A big one that they point to a lot is being fake on social media, and we can see that a lot. Shelby posts that she's living the life on vacation, when in actuality, she's miserable in that moment. Nikki is criticized multiple times for her fake activism. In an interview with the film's director, Greg Jardin, he expresses this.
Just in my lifetime, the way we've consumed media has changed so much. The biggest probably thing has been the advent of social media and how we essentially get so much of our values from social media, how there's a lot of artifice, how we all kind of know that there's a lot of artifice, and yet it still affects us. So I think certainly, we have all learned a lot of things from what we see on screens. We know that babies now get iPads, iPhones put in front of them, so it scares me.
I don't feel like this movie goes anywhere with these ideas, though. It presents a thesis and then doesn't follow through on doing anything with it. I've seen a lot of people say the ending is ambiguous, but I don't really understand that. We know every swap. For those watching this video instead of the movie for some reason, basically, what happens is that Forbes shows up in Beatrice's body. It's revealed that Forbes was never there. It was his sister Beatrice the whole time. After that, Beatrice has escaped with the machine in Nikki's body and made the final swaps that the characters are left with. Maya is in Brooke's body. Nikki is in Ruben's, and the real Brooke and Ruben are dead. Dennis is in Forbes, Beatrice is in Nikki's, and Forbes is in Beatrice. So what's ambiguous? Do we need to have a sequel where they go on a quest to find the machine? Do we need to see 20 minutes of what all the characters do after the swaps? No, I don't think so. Beatrice, while she's in Forbes' body at the beginning of the movie, says that she loves the thrill of switching, that she wants to constantly be switching bodies. So we can presume from the fact that at the ending, they show us this scene again, that is what will happen. She's not going to stay in Nikki's body. She probably didn't care whose body she ended up with.
Every new body you go into gives you a new piece of the human condition, and then after a while,
you just want to constantly switch.
And we know that she sent Dennis's money to herself, so she's basically set for life. It seems plausible we can assume that Beatrice is metaphorically and literally escaping a lot of the mental health struggles she faces by switching bodies with people. Maya lives on through Brooke's body. When Ruben and Brooke had sex with Maya and Dennis's body, there were a lot of weird moral implications there. Ruben was viewing it through the lens of sleeping with Maya. He remarks, "You look just like her," to Brooke. Whereas Brooke saw it as sleeping with Ruben, not as the body of Dennis. She exclaims that she knows who he is and doesn't care, and then says Ruben, Ruben, Ruben instead of Dennis.
You look just like her. You know who I am.
I know you are. I don't care.
So Maya is left with the body of the person who uses her body for physical intimacy, not caring about the moral implications of that. Maya is last seen meditating, and we are told that she views this as sort of a rebirth, which is not the first time she expresses an idea like this throughout the film.
The guy that I was in a relationship with was married, and I feel like I've reincarnated into Shelby's body, into this new vessel to come here and correct all of our sins, to teach. Shut up!
Nikki is now stuck in a black man's body. A black man who, by the people he should know, is probably seen as a dick now for leaving his fiancée at the altar. Interestingly, when Shelby is trying to steal Nikki's body, she threatens Nikki with posting a video to her Instagram saying that she no longer supports Black Lives Matter.
Real quick, real talk, fuck the water project or any fucking charity. If you guys want to donate, I'm starting a Patreon for Boob Job. P.S. non sequitur, is anyone else like totally over the whole Black Lives Matter shit, or is that just me?
The movie criticizes her activism and charity many times, and so I read this as it is. She's being punished by put into the body of a black man after her faux white activism. Not loved and privileged anymore, but forced to live her life marginalized. Did she deserve this? Do I think that this one makes sense? Honestly, from what we see, no. Other characters constantly tell us that Nikki is fake and selfish, but from all that we ever see, she's a normal, nice person despite her fame and status. But that's still, I think, the reading the movie is going for, especially because of Greg Jardin's comments about disliking social media activism and the movie's constant lambasting of this behavior. This is a good example of the screenwriting idea, show, don't tell. We are never shown Nikki to be doing anything wrong, but because the director thinks that social media activism is wrong, he's assuming that the audience is going to see it that way. Other characters tell us that she's fake and selfish, but we just don't see that, and I can't really buy into the idea that simply making statements on social media makes someone a bad person. This does not work for me. Now, as for Dennis's final body being Forbes, this also makes no sense, as being in Forbes' body really isn't that much of a punishment, bar the fact that it's not his body. Proportionally to other characters, Dennis is probably the worst one. He's a trust fund dick who has sex with and gaslights a minor while cheating on his partner. He is mean to his friends, he's a cheater and a liar. For a movie that seems to end with its characters getting karmic justice, yes, he loses his money, and then he gets placed into one of the only bodies that he will have the ability to pretty easily get all of his money back. If Elon Musk can succeed in Silicon Valley, not being a rocket scientist or engineer, I'm sure Dennis can in Forbes' body, who's already there. I can't help but misunderstand this choice. What is the punishment? That he's in the body of a man who he deems to be less attractive? If anything, he got off easiest of anyone besides maybe Shelby. And lastly, I didn't say this before, but Shelby and Cyrus remain in their original bodies. Cyrus will spend time in prison, and Shelby walks away, the only character with no punishment or permanent body swap. Is that not boring? And what on earth is that conclusion? If anything, you could give the movie some goodwill and argue that they are both in prison. Cyrus spent the last 9 years of his life imprisoned in his own life, ignoring the relationship that he had in favor of lusting over the girl that rejected him 10 years ago, and for that, he gets literal prison. Whereas Shelby, who made a ton of horrific, terrible decisions while in Nikki's body, she will be forced to live with those choices and retreat probably even further into her anxieties and insecurities, whilst also losing all of her friends. Her metaphorical prison to Cyrus is little, but I don't really like that reading. If that is the point, Shelby can still always improve. She has the option to move on, whereas none of the other characters do. Cyrus's problem is that he is so externally obsessed with Nikki that he doesn't pay attention to the relationship that he has. He lies and becomes a cheater because of the fact that he cannot let go of the idea of a girl he had 9 years ago. He views Nikki as a sex object in an idealistic relationship, but doesn't actually care about her as a person, nor does he care about his girlfriend as a person. He's pretty sexist. So is the best karma him getting put back in his body to spend life in prison? No. Why not have him end up in Nikki's body? A big detail that we see throughout the film is that while Nikki is rich and successful, she does get objectified and thirsted over in pretty uncomfortable ways. She cannot post on social media without constantly getting comments about how hot she is or how people want to fuck her. Cyrus participates in this misogyny. He participates in this objectification, leaving fire emojis on her posts and constantly liking and ignoring his girlfriend for them. So wouldn't it make sense for him to have to experience that for the rest of his life, to experience the misogyny that he takes place in? This seems more in line with what the movie wanted to go for, with Nikki ending up in Ruben's body. Maybe the movie intentionally left it to where we could not get a satisfying ending. There was no way to make these swaps in a fair and just and karmic way. But if that's the case, what was the point? For a movie with so many moral statements, with so much that it wants to say about social media and cheating and lying and relationships and identity, it doesn't do anything with those moral statements. It doesn't end the movie off with anything that would amount to a message. Why would the ending be these characters got dealt random hands regardless of their actions and intentions? What was the point then? If that's the case, what is the movie trying to say beyond it bad? Yes, lying, cheating, being racist are bad. Go on. And even back to the deaths, why is Brooke one of the two that die? Realistically, besides, I guess, the real Forbes, she's probably the most moral character. She's not a cheater. She doesn't have sex with a minor. The only wrong thing she does is enable someone else to cheat. Is having sex with a dude who's about to get married worse than being a cheater or having sex with and gaslighting a minor? These are characters that live, that get less bad punishments than Brooke does. Is that karma? Why does Cyrus end up in prison when he's clearly not the most scummy character out of the group? At one point, Forbes, who we later learn is Beatrice, makes a remark about how liars get away with shit. She is clearly in this moment talking about Dennis. Dennis, who lied about having sex with her because he was cheating on his partner with her. Additionally, when Beatrice first shows up in Forbes' body, she glares for an awkwardly long time at Dennis. It's pretty clear in hindsight that she is mostly upset with Dennis, and that makes sense. He's the one that gaslit her. So she wants revenge on Dennis mainly, and she wants to get a body to swap with. That is the main point that we are driven home. So why, in her final moment of switching the final swaps, does she remove Dennis from the body that would send him to prison? It was already set up to get the best possible revenge, and she switched it. Why would she put Dennis in her brother's body? In the closet, before Beatrice makes these final swaps, she makes a deal with Nikki that we don't see. We could assume in this moment that she's going off of what Nikki requested, but that doesn't work either. First of all, she never needed to make a deal with Nikki. She had Shelby, who was trying to steal Nikki's body earlier, already going along with her plan. She could have just had Shelby untie her.
You want to know what I'd do if I were in your shoes?
We will switch us back into our bodies, and I will help you get away or whatever the fuck. I have a plan.
What is it?
Fuck.
So she didn't need to make a deal with Nikki to get untied. But beyond that, the final swaps don't make sense if you're assuming that Nikki is the one who chose them. Why would Nikki choose to be in Ruben's body? And why doesn't Beatrice just betray Nikki like she does everyone else throughout the entire movie? Why would she make this deal with Nikki and then actually go with the swaps that she wanted? Did Beatrice just do half the deal? It just doesn't make sense. There's no way you can cut it to where the character motivations line up with the final swaps. But whatever, I can suspend my disbelief for that if the swaps make thematic, coherent sense, but they don't. At one point, Maya in Nikki's body says that an out-of-body experience is the most weighted and the most true in the eyes of Buddha.
Out-of-body experiences are like true objective judgment in the eyes of Buddha.
If that is the case, why is Shelby, who did the worst thing while out of someone's body, literally holding that body hostage and trying to steal someone's identity, the only character that gets off scot-free? The movie can't follow through on its own logic. It can't follow through on the moral statements that it itself makes. Why is the twist with Beatrice even in the movie? It already made sense for Forbes to be secretly controlling these things because he got expelled from school because his friends lied about him, and then they didn't talk to him for 9 years. It feels really like an unearned twist just so that the movie can have a twist, almost like Now You See Me with Mark Ruffalo. We don't even see Beatrice, barring still images in a flashback, up until the last 15 minutes of the movie when the twist is revealed. The movie didn't need a twist ending. It's what's inside. The antagonist of the film is the sins of the characters, the grudges that they hold, and the choices that they make. That was the point. That's what the movie said. So why is there a secret external force that's not what's inside being the one who's secretly pulling the strings the entire movie? That's ridiculous. I tried viewing it from other angles, trying to find something that I was missing, but I just can't. The movie directly says that this might be karma for their sins. Shelby uses Cyrus's own line from earlier in the movie against him when she leaves him in prison.
What should I have said to her?
I don't know. Like, hey, what you did was wrong. It was fucking wrong, and you're a shitty person, and you deserve to live the rest of your miserable existence with a rusty shovel crammed up your ass. So, fuck on that, bitch.
Was wrong. It was fucking wrong. And you're a shitty person. And you deserve to spend the rest of your miserable existence with a rusty shovel crammed up your fucking ass. So fuck on that, bitch!
And the twist is that Beatrice is getting revenge on the people who wronged her. This is about karma. There is no way around that. Cyrus spent a 9-year relationship with a woman that he didn't love, imprisoned in his own life, and for that, he gets to spend life in prison. Maya considers Brooke's body a rebirth and will continue on her path of doing whatever she was doing. But Maya also cheated on her partner, just as characters who died and got imprisoned did. The movie makes it so clear that these endings are supposed to mean something on a thematic level, but they just don't. So now I'm gonna do the YouTuber thing. I'm gonna propose a different version of the ending. Now, please, please, please be clear that I don't think I could have made this movie better than the people who made it. I wouldn't have made it. But I think with what the movie is going for, I can still rework it a little bit to make a bit more of a satisfying version of this ending. For my version, first of all, Beatrice will never show up. Forbes is Forbes. There is a joke earlier in the film that Dennis makes about getting swapped into Ruben's body if he'll be able to use the N-word. I'm going to take this joke away from Dennis and give the line to Nikki.
I have one. If I wind up in Ruben's body, does that mean I'm cool to use the N-word?
Oh my god.
As if you have to even ask.
For a character who is criticized for faux activism, who gets punished by being left in a black man's body, it would make sense that we actually at least seeing her be a little bit racist with off-color jokes, right? Dennis is already a piece of shit. He didn't need that line to hammer it home. And again, Nikki really isn't shown to be a bad person. And yeah, this is only an off-color joke, but at least it would be a moment we can call back to that would make sense to think about when she's left in Ruben's body. Additionally, I would add in that Forbes is currently in a scandal with the government over his technology. A scandal that is not completely resolved. He still has to go to congressional hearings or something. Now, with those details added, here are the final swaps I would leave the movie with. Cyrus, like I explained earlier, is in Nikki's body, forced to live dealing with the objectification that he took part in. Shelby is left in Forbes' body. For being the only one who literally tried to steal someone's body maliciously, it makes more sense to me that she would be the one that has to literally deal with the fallout of this machine and its events. Dennis will remain in Cyrus's body. Considering the fact that he was the only character who technically did something illegal by having a sexual relationship with a minor, it would make sense that he goes to prison. That's the most karmic justice you can get. Nikki, with that added line, will remain left in Ruben's body, and Maya will remain left in Brooke's body. I really do want to reiterate, I would not have made this movie. I could not have made it from scratch better than they made it. I don't think that. I'm only trying to add on to what the movie seemed like it was already trying to go for.
Kiss, kiss, kiss.
All this being said, I cannot deny how fun, engaging, visually pleasing, and awesome this movie is. It is so much fun, and I definitely would recommend it if you haven't seen it. For how much I dislike the ending, this is not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. Because for what I do think it fails in messaging and themes, it completely succeeds in being an extremely fun psychological thriller that keeps you on the edge of your seat. I was thoroughly engaged for the entire film, never once losing interest or feeling like it was too slow or had bad pacing. The plot beats hit at the perfect times. The scene where Ruben and Brooke die is so masterfully crafted, it is amazing. Everything crescendos at the right time. The film has a lot of amazing use of visual language. The visual tool of showing Brooke using RGB tricks on her art and then using those same RGB tricks to show us the real characters when they're in other people's bodies is awesome and such a creative, unique idea. The use of color in general in this movie is great. This is a movie that takes full advantage of the medium, using visuals, editing, sound to craft its story in a way that is so fully enveloped. But if you want your movie to be deep, if you want it to have political and social commentary, you actually have to follow through on that political and social commentary. This was not meant to just be a fun movie with nothing to say. Like I said, there are interviews with the director where he expresses moral claims he wanted to make in this movie that we do see in the movie. It wanted to be a social commentary, I just don't think that it succeeds. This is no Parasite. This is no Ex Machina. It's not fun and gripping and socially commentative. But it is ridiculously entertaining, so how could I say that it's a bad movie? One idea that the film does drive home well, that it does land, is at the end of the day, it's not about the girl who rejected you 10 years ago. It's not about your shitty boyfriend who doesn't pay attention to you. It is not about the karma people do or do not get. You can enjoy your life now. Stop worrying about other people, about past bullshit. Stop worrying about external factors. After all, it's what's inside.
Okay, everybody, please keep your electrodes on.
What the fuck?
Take a deep breath. It's okay.
Cyrus, what's happening? Cyrus?
Oh, fuck over there. No, what the fuck? Shelva, what the fuck is going on? 3, 2, and 1.